Hello people of the internet, I'm Nobody, and today I'm going to talk about Katawa Shoujo, a shoujo style visual novel from 2012. If you already know about Katawa Shoujo and don't want me explaining something you probably already heard in other videos, then skip to this part you're saying right here on screen. I probably put it there if I'm not lazy. Okay, so one day on 4chan, someone posted this picture you're seeing right now. It's an extra page from a doujin called This Thing's Cool, from the author Raita, and just this one image of a bunch of crippled girls motivated 4chan to make a whole visual novel. Inspiration can come from anywhere, they say, and this game is living proof of that. The development started in 2007 with a lot of people living and entering into development. At some point, all of those strangers formed a studio called Four Leaf Studios in honor of the place where all of them met, and the development was finished on January 4th, 2012 with the release of 1.0. There was a beta and even some earlier prototypes that you can find online, and they're almost entirely different games tone-wise compared to the final release, with the only thing being the same is the character design from Raita and the story taking place in a school for disabled people. Oh yeah, did I mention that before? This game is about dating disabled girls. I mean, it's in the title of the goddamn game. Katawa Shoujo means crippled girl. The game is not as sick as it sounds, I promise, please don't go. The game actually portrays disabilities with a lot of respect, and it shows you that disabilities are only a problem if you make them a problem. I mean, there are a few explicit scenes in the game, but you can disable them, I get it, from the options menu. So if you don't like that kind of content, I think you should go and play it. It's free, you have no excuse. The game is available in a lot of different languages, the original being English, of course, Espanol, French, Schwa, French, I don't speak French, and Nihongo. The novel is divided into 5 routes, one for each girl. Every route is divided into 4 acts, and the music is really good. You've been hearing it in a trailer video, actually. Like, just hear this. If this does not make you feel something, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're probably dead. Now let's talk about the characters. We have Lilly Sato, the blind one, aka Best Girl. Next is Hanako Ikusawa. She's a shy one. She's also a little burnt, as you can see from the scars on her face. Then we have Emi Ibarasaki, the runner without legs. Afterwards, Rin Tezuka, the painter with no arms. And after that, we have Shizune Hakamichi, the student council president, and she is deaf, which is good because she's worst girl, and that means she cannot hear me every time I say this. Oh yeah, there's also Misha. Her full name is actually Shina Mikado. She doesn't have a route for some reason, maybe because she doesn't have a disability. But if you really like her, you can install a mod that puts animation around the game. I read it, it's okay. And finally, we have the protagonist, aka you the player, Hisao Nakai. He has a heart problem, to be more specific, arrhythmia, which for those who don't know can make the heart beat at irregular intervals and seemingly random moments, according to Wikipedia anyway. Apparently, it's really common. Most people don't even realize they have it. There are a lot of different types of arrhythmia, so I'm gonna guess Hisao has the most dangerous one, because he was forced to go to a special school, which is called Yamaku Academy. The photos of the academy are actual real-life photos of Brown University in the US. The game takes place in Japan, by the way, if you haven't realized that by the name. Sometime between the mid-2000s, based by the fact that every character uses a flip phone, and the game was made during those years, of course. So I played this game to completion a few years ago, but I was really lonely this past Valentine's Day, so I decided to play my favorite route again. Lilly's. Yeah, I know that sounded really pathetic, but I really don't care. Anyway, like I was saying, Lilly is best girl, so of course, she gets the best route. Why is the best route, you ask me? Because I think, emphasis on think, because I'm not gonna replay the whole thing just to verify this. Come on, it's like 25 hours long. Because I think that this is a route where Hisao has the most chemistry with the girl of the route. In this case, being Lilly. Let me explain Hisao's personality a little bit. First of all, he's not a blank slate. He has the same character from the beginning, and depending on the girl you choose, Hisao's character changes. For example, in Emi's route, he's a lot more rash and say things without thinking too much. He's also a lot more healthy because he exercises a lot in order to bond with Emi, and in Hanako's route, he's a lot more protective, sometimes even overprotective. The only thing that doesn't change is that he always wears sweater vest. They look good on him, but if Lilly could see, she will probably tell him to wear something else once in a while. But in terms of his personality and Lilly's route, I like to describe him as reasonable. He he almost never does stupid things, except towards the end. He's really open with Lily, and you can choose not to be open with her. But if you do that, you will get a bad ending, and of course, we don't want that. Spoilers ahead. If you're mildly interested in anything I just told you, go and play the game. It's free, come on. And I'm not going to explain every little thing that happens in the story, so I'm gonna assume you already played the game, and I'm gonna go pretty quick on this until we get to Lily. So let's start, shall we? So this girl confesses to Hisao. Hisao gets a heart attack. He wakes up in the hospital, knowing that he has arrhythmia, so he gets transferred to his new school, and his new life begins. He meets his teacher, that for some reason always reminded me of Kiryu Uemiya from Fate Zero. He meets his classmates, and Misha and Shizune give us a tour through the school, and we ask where the library is. Hisao notices the really long-haired Hanako. More tour around the school. We meet the nurse. He tells you to exercise so that you don't die. Then we go to Hisao's room. Then we meet the average 4chan user. Hisao enters his room, takes his daily dose of pills to keep him alive, and goes to sleep. The next day in class, our protagonist gets asked if he wants to join the student council. We say no because that would mean spending more time with the worst girl, and of course, we don't want that. So we play Risk, we lose no matter what we choose. So we try to go to a library, but we don't know where the hell it is, so we just wander around until we find ourselves in a room almost isolated from everything else in this school. And in this room is a tall, blonde woman that's definitely not Japanese, at least not 100%. Surprisingly, she invites us to take a seat. She never made any eye contact, much less look in our direction, so we assume she must be blind. And she then proceeds to present herself. Her name is Lilly Sato. We present ourselves too. She offers us some tea, and she starts making it with such elegance and precision that it almost comes into question whether she is blind or not. Lily and Hisao basically make small talk for at least an hour, I assume. The protagonist doesn't realize that time has passed until he sees the sun starting to set. For obvious reasons, Lily doesn't know this, so we tell her that we have to go to the library before it's closed. Fortunately for us, she's going there too, so we go with her. And I'm not gonna go into every scene with Lily, because that will probably make the video 2 hours long. So I'm assuming you played the game. I'm just gonna explain my points now and talk about the story in general. And obviously, this is just my opinion. Feel free to disagree. In fact, I welcome you to disagree. I don't have anyone to talk about this game. Please don't go. Anyway, that first scene with Lily is a nice summary of what happens in the route. Hisao and Lily just make small talk for hours. The conflict doesn't really come from their personalities clashing, unlike most other routes in the game. At first glance, you might think that's really boring, but I strongly disagree. Because those quiet chats that they have about whatever comes to their minds actually build up more character than initially may seem. They're really interesting too, like when Lily tries to explain to you what do blind people dream, how she knows that Hisao is handsome just for touching his face, and a trip to the summer house in Hokkaido, except for the part where he almost dies. It almost feels like a slice of life anime at some points, which I'm pretty sure that was the feeling the author tried to make. And that actually gets addressed in the story, with Hisao saying things like, he cannot believe that this is actually real, that everything is going great, because we need to have conflict. In this case, it comes with the revelation that Lily is going back to Scotland, where her parents are. And we never meet her parents, aside from a phone call with her mother, which I'm pretty sure was just added to say that we knew them before. And the way that the conflict gets resolved, it's kind of pretty cliche, I know. It's basically a glorified, don't get in that plane kind of thing. But the journey to that conclusion was really enjoyable. It almost feels kind of realistic, or at least what I think is realistic anyway. Also, a thing that I really like is that this is probably the only route that treats Hisao's disability with actual seriousness. Because Hisao is not in the best condition, he cannot really do any activities that require a lot of physical movement, and yes, that includes the you-know-what. So he basically has to learn his limits and maximize his potential within those limits. That's a bit of character development that doesn't happen in other routes. Besides probably Emmy's, because of the whole running thing to stay healthy and not die, Lily's route shows the consequences of Hisao not taking his health into consideration. I think that adds a lot to the story, especially near the end. If Hisao hadn't had all those previous mini heart attacks, then the last act would have felt really forced. There's a few little things I want to mention before ending the video. Okay, first one, Hanako. Hanako in Lily's route is a side character. She's the best friend of Lily. Towards the middle of the story, she becomes a close friend of Hisao too. Not as close as Lily, obviously, but if you want to know more about Hanako, just go and play her route. Anyway, like I was saying, it's implied a little that Hanako liked Hisao, but after seeing Hisao gravitate towards Lily, she just gave up and basically, you cuck her, because you have sex with Lily in the room next to her. I feel bad about that, but maybe one day I'll do a video about Hanako, who knows. So the last thing I want to talk about is Kira. She's Lily's sister. I really enjoy her character. She's really laid back and cool. She supports her relationship with Lily, which is something that surprised me the first time I played this because, like I said before, the story didn't have any sort of conflict, and she appears towards the middle of the story. So I thought she was going to be the antagonist, but I was totally wrong. In fact, she's the one that tells you that Lily and her are considering living in Japan. She tells you this because she really thinks that he sounds like a good person that's worth her sister's love. Yeah, I think that's about it. I don't have anything more to say. It hasn't been said by someone else. I apologize for rambling towards the end. I kind of get ahead of myself sometimes. Thanks for watching. If you want me to talk about something, just leave it in the comments. I'll probably read it, and I'll probably do it. Because I don't think anyone's going to watch this video. So yeah, I don't know. Follow me on MySpace. Support me on Google+. The generic YouTube outro stuff. Thank you and goodbye.